Welcome once again to Covenant Child. It's a new month, and it's hard to believe we're in the fifth month of 2021. But God has been faithful, and I trust that you are ready to receive out of God's hand whatever He has for you, even in this month and in the rest of the year. Thank you once again to those who continually to just give me feedback and tell me how much they've enjoyed the messages and are blessed and encouraged by it. I value those inputs, and I trust that you will continue to be blessed and tell your friends and share the videos with your friends as well as you are blessed. So I want to encourage us all again today as well out of the book of Second Kings. I always find this passage very, very interesting. Second Kings chapter 7, and I'm going to read, because of time, I'm going to read just four verses, verse 3 to verse 7. However, the whole passage you can go and read right up to verse 16, which is the interesting story of the four lepers. And it says, "Now there were four men with leprosy at the entrance of the city gate. They said to each other, 'Why stay here until we die? If we say we'll go into the city, the famine is there, and we will die. And if we stay here, we will die. So let's go over to the camp of the Arameans and surrender. If they spare us, we live. If they kill us, then we die.' At dusk they got up and went to the camp of the Arameans. When they reached the edge of the camp, no one was there. For the Lord had caused the Arameans to hear the sound of chariots and horses and a great army. So they said to one another, 'Look, the king of Israel has hired the Hittite and Egyptian kings to attack us.' So they got up and fled into the dusk and abandoned their tents and their horses and donkeys. They left the camp as it was and ran for their lives. And so these four lepers, they come into this camp and they find it is deserted because the Lord had used their footsteps, just four weak men, and the Arameans had heard a whole army, and they had fled and they ran away. And if you read the story further on, you will discover that these four men went in, they found food, they found everything, and they started to enjoy themselves and eat. And then after they started to eat, they said, 'But look, this is not good. We are enjoying all this food here, but our brothers and our sisters back in the city have nothing because there's a famine. Let us go back and tell them they can come also and share in the food here.' And that's what they did. And so I just want us to look at these four men. First of all, they were rejected. They were lepers. And as I'm sure you know, in that day and age, leprosy was contagious, terribly contagious. And so people, once they were diagnosed, they were cut off from the rest of society. They had to sit. That's why these four men were sitting outside of the city. They were rejected. They were outcasts. No one wanted anything to do with them because of the disease that they had. They were weak. They didn't have any food to eat. And because of the sickness, obviously, they were just sitting there. They were weak. They were powerless in their situation. They were obviously poor as well because they couldn't work. Having a disease like this, they couldn't work. And so here we have these four men in this situation, rejected, outcasts, weak, no power, poor. But they decided to do something about their situation. As they sat there, they said to themselves, if we sit here, we're going to die from our disease because there's famine. If we go into the city, they'll kill us as well because we're not supposed to be there. So whether we sit here, whether we go inside back into the town, they're going to kill us. Let's just go forward to the Aramean camp. And there as well, if they're going to kill us, they're going to kill us. So whether we sit here or we go into the city, we go there, they might kill us. But maybe the Arameans accept us. And so they got up and they went. And I just want to look at 4 points about these four lepers that we can learn about. One, they got up from where they were. They were prepared to go into the unknown. They didn't know what faced them. They just knew the Arameans were there ahead of them. There was an army there. And they felt, well, even if we die, but we're going. They got up from where they were. And I want to encourage you today. Your situation might be bad. You might also feel rejected. You might also feel an outcast. You might feel weak. But I want to encourage you to get up from where you are and move forth in faith. The Bible contains many stories of men and women who decided to move from where they were into the unknown. Even when Abram was called from Ur, God called him and said, I want you to go to the land I've given you and your children's children. Even though he didn't have children then, he got up from where he was and he went into the unknown. And so I want to encourage us. The future is very uncertain at this time in our world. But whatever God is directing you to do, get up and move and continue and take God at His word. Secondly, they did not use their situation as an excuse. Here they were, poor, weak, outcast, rejected, but they didn't use it as an excuse. So many times we can use our situation as an excuse. Well, I don't have, I'm poor. Well, I don't have, I'm this, I'm that. Because of my gender, because of my race, because of this, because of that. We can use so much as excuses. I don't have education, anything like that. But these men did not use their situation as an excuse. They got up from where they were, they moved forward, and the miracle happened. Thirdly, they risked their lives. And sometimes God will even cause us to want to risk our lives. We know that there are many brethren, brothers and sisters in countries across the world who have risked their lives for the sake of the gospel. They've even died. Their families have rejected them. And these men were willing to risk their lives. They said, if we die there, then we die. And someone once said, dead men are dangerous because dead men fear nothing. And so Paul even encourages us to see ourselves as dead. We are dead to this world, dead to sin, dead to the things of this world. Let us take that risk and move forward for God and see the miracles that He does. Fourthly, they shared what they had. As I said, if you read the story further on, when they had all the bounty and the meal and they were enjoying themselves, they said, let us share. So when God blesses you, when God moves you into what He has for you, go and share with others as well. So I want to encourage you to be like these four men who got up, who moved forward. And you see that God took their little faith that they had and their little footsteps. They were weak men as they were walking, these four little men, weak, thin probably from the disease and from famine. God changed that it was sounded like an army coming. And that's what God does. When you give the little bit that you have, He enlarges it. He accelerates it. He magnifies it. I'm reminded of the story of the little boy who came and gave the fish and the loaves to Jesus. And God just magnified it. That's what God does when you give the little that you have. Numbers chapter 14, verse 24. I think I've read this scripture in one of my other messages as well. It says, but because my servant Caleb has a different spirit and follows me wholeheartedly, I will bring him into the land he went to, and his descendants will inherit it. Caleb had a different spirit to the rest. He believed God. He put his faith in God. He followed God wholeheartedly. And that's what we need, is to have a different spirit in this time. And not join the chorus of complaining and seeking all other kinds of things, but you have a different spirit and to keep hoping in God. We have to give what God has given us. He will use what is given to him. And so I want to encourage you, even though you might be rejected, you might be poor, you might feel like an outcast. He can use you. He can take the little that you give him. Give it unto God. Move forth in faith. Step out in faith and leave the rest to God. And you can enjoy what he has for you. God bless you. Until we meet again next week, have a blessed week. Shalom.